Hey everybody, welcome to Offbeat. This your host, Jack Analog. Today we got a special guest, my guy, Izzy Human. What's up, bro? How you doing today, man?
Jack, what's going on, man? I'm feeling great. This is awesome. I'm really excited to be here.
Hey
I'm really
man,
excited.
I'm happy that you came on, man. It's this is a special one because like you know, I'm gonna say it like you're the first um musician artist, and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna try to say it without saying it, but in
Okay.
in in the crypto space that uh I like, I guess I don't want to say I can say more, but that I liked, you know what I'm saying? So um respect because I know and understand that realm, and we're gonna speak on that. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, how you doing today though?
Hey, well, first of all, much respect, and I gotta give a special shout out to Cavelier to Punisher White because that man is a glue. He is a glue, for sure. And I know that like we got an ecosystem, so I gotta throw him out there too because I know like just in that span of knowing him and knowing you and like that's like those were like the group, like to me those were like, okay, these are your rappers. So definitely I want to throw it back to you. I'm really bad at that sometimes. I'm like, hey
Nah,
bro, thank
you
you for that, but much
um
love
you
for
kind
sure,
of
because you
I
guys are
mean,
OGs in this. You guys are OGs in this. When we
well,
know we'll talk more about it, but because
yes.
obviously we've got timeline, in the media two circuit, and just our whole independent structure is very similar, in those ways. And I've got many questions for you as well. So, but I'm feeling great,
ah,
man. I'm excited, and it's just been a really good time for us. It's for the team, for all of our artists, including you, and just this, in the expansion of that. And this is a branch of what's been manifesting in my mind anyway. Is just outside of the music, but it's still in music realm, right? Because now we get
mm-hmm.
to really get to break this down, and we get to talk about music, and we get to be on the other side of it of, okay, this is outside of when we're in the studio, when we're locked in, we're locked into this now, so
Right.
there's
And
because there's hmm
outside of your space, right?
right.
Like cuz I move, right? And the
hmm
spaces the space I've been in, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not
yeah.
like active there, but I'm always active, so
You
I'm in
everywhere.
a different, well, I ain't gonna
Almost everywhere.
I,
Okay, let me say almost everywhere, y'all. Let me not over exaggerate. But Jack is also, and he is also being bashful right now. So
look,
he
hey,
moving, bro.
hey man, this show about uh is he human? Know what I'm saying? The artist and the producer, y'all. Know what I mean?
Shoot,
We gonna keep this on focus. Know what
no,
I
I
mean?
appreciate I appreciate him.
Them
This
Jedi tricks don't work on me, cuz. You know what I'm saying?
Camel's
So
like, quit it.
nah,
Yo.
nah, you good, man. But check it though. I got this is something that I learned from the producers that come up here. Now I got to shout out, all the producers that I so far, you know what I mean, that's come on the show. Um, but I got to know like what inspired you, man, to like just start making music. Like what was it that in your spirit you was just like, okay, this is something that I'm gonna pursue and you know, be serious about and like really dig in and get to a point really where you at, you know what I'm saying, as a whole. But what inspires you, my bro?
Yeah. So Lincoln Park Hybrid Theory. I was 8 years old.
Mm.
It was my first album that I ever bought. FYE. I'm from Lima, Ohio originally, so FYE was the album store, and that I would go to and buy the albums. It was dope. It was dope. Like I was very much a fan of buying the album, and My parents knew that I was a fan of the CD, so they always bought me a CD either for my Well, it would be for my birthday, or it would be for for the holidays, whatever. But this one, yeah, it was my eighth birthday, and they said pick out the CD, and I remember seeing Linkin Park One Step Closer. This is when I was a little kid again. I was like 8. Um, I was like, man, I thought it was dope. I loved the rhythm, and I
Mm,
appreciated Mike Shinoda, man. I just appreciate In the End. That was the other
mm,
one too, and I really appreciated just that rhyme, like just the rhyme scheme and just what he was saying. I think even as a kid, I felt like I just picked up on just that, like, these guys are being serious, and I don't know exactly what it is that they're talking about per se, but they're being
right.
serious. They're being serious about something, and then it's enough to entice me as an 8-year-old kid, and enough to be like, I wouldn't mind making music like that for whatever reason I had.
Mm,
Just other than just to put a thought down. So I bought that album and listened to Chester Bennington, rest in peace, Mike Shinoda, and the whole band, and they just put it together, place in my head. One step closer, paper cut. I mean, you remember the times you take the booklet out, you remember the lyrics, and you play the CD over and over and over again. And
right.
then they later on, Reanimation came out, and that was just full on hip hop. That was like high voltage. And that's when I started looking into like Black Thought. Like I was starting to look into one of the more like old school, like just
Mm-hmm.
how that went, and then Alchemist realms and Ninth Wonder realms, and just
Mm-hmm.
I guess the people would categorize that as the underground hip hop, but that's to me that's not that's again the rapper's rapper, and I think that definitely became a large part of my identity, and I think some people would look at that as maybe a sacrifice in a way because they categorize mainstream artistry and whatever that means. I don't think that's culture per se. Or I think when you talk about culture, it's redefined in a different way. This
Mm,
is the artistry itself is about the curation of it and the unapologeticness of it.
mm.
Like they were their brands. They were their identities. There was no need for an approval for that. And there was a respect for everybody in their space. You didn't
Well,
see like go ahead.
you, I'm sorry, you hit a certain word, you know what I mean? And it was a cue. Shout out to Cavelli, you know what I mean? A whole nother cast. But we talked about this word, curation, you know what I mean?
Mm.
What does that word curation mean to you? Beautiful word, by the way. Glad you brought it up.
Oh my goodness. I wish that I could remember off the top of my head who, like, Pusha T said it best. He said it in a
Mm,
song. And maybe it was like it was in the newest it was in the newest one. Mm, so be it, so be it. But to really curate it is like to craft. That's how I look at it. You're crafting. You're producing it. This is the season. This is where we're at. This is the attire. This is what we're doing. This is the set. These are the people. This is what I'm looking for. All of it. You're putting it. You're setting the stage.
so, as a producer, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you correlate curation to what you're actually making?
Rick Rubin's really dope about this. Rick Rubin has a really unorthodox way of doing it, but I don't really think it's unorthodox. I think it's really just following soul, and I think you knowing who you are in this space where you kind of get forced to be put in another position to be someone that other people might think that you're like. Um, but when you really take that time to grow and develop into like your identity and your brand, and like you
Mm-hmm.
really start to see past those smoky mirrors or whatever, like, and you get around people. So with the production portion of it, you start to know your sound, right? So eventually what you're able to do is you're able to curate, okay, you're able to curate this sound that correlates with this, that correlates with that, that has an overall personality. But you also know that to be happy doesn't necessarily mean that I have to hit a lottery for $1 million.
Hey, so I'm sitting here smiling, and you know why? Because, because we about to hit another topic real quick, but see everything that you talked about directly applied to production, but you didn't say MPC sample, you didn't say Logic, you didn't say Slab, you didn't say any of those things, but you still described what you would see how to curate basically a music production. 'Cause that's what we do. Like if you say it like that, it sounds like some big perform, but that's what it is. You know what I mean? When
100%.
you take a group of songs that you made and put them together, it's a music production. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, I I really appreciate that answer, man. Like that was I feel like I don't know. I'm gonna just say this was not scripted. You know what I mean? Because he
Never
said that
is.
word curation, and like it just took me like I ain't gonna front. Like I don't even know if I listened to what you said after that. I
You
have to
just heard
listen to the
the
pod. Yeah, man, because you took me to a place. So let's go. Let's
one love.
stay.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Respect, man. I told you. I told him before this joint started that yo, like every pod I do, like I learn something and I get something and or something, you know, like transpires and I it just shows me that yeah, like everybody that you meet along the way in your journey, like there's parts and you know pieces, and a lot of times if you don't, and I get to now like one on one with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I've never had the opportunity to do this, so that's
This
why
is
I
dope.
appreciate it. You know what I mean? Because you taking your time. Um, so let's talk technical now.
Okay, let's talk
What
technical.
what's your weapon? You know, what's your weapon of choice when you ready to make a track?
Weapon of choice is Logic Pro. That is the DAW, Logic Pro X. I've been using that for a long time. Going,
Logic.
yeah, Logic. I try, back then, it was like, man, you don't use Logic, and that was the entendre, like, haha. But at this point now, it's like, bro, everybody's just as good at everything. So it's just like respect, just music, respect it. But Logic is my choice.
Right.
Um, and
The old
man,
doggies.
yeah, no, the dogs are out. They're going. They're going.
Yeah.
It's chow time. It's chow time. They know. They're like
Right.
when he jumps on this track at 1:30, or 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, he's up. They're there with me.
Yeah.
Experiencing
They
the
know what's
energy.
up. They know the time. You know what I
They know
mean?
the times.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I do that, and man, I'm kind of a creature of habit. I'll be honest. I've like I said, I've used Logic. I've upgraded. I've gone from laptop to Mac. So I do use the Apple products. I find it to be simple to me, and it makes sense. Again, it's just something that I'm adapted to. But I'm also I can be versatile in other studios with other people, and just be able to you just gotta it's workflow, right? If it's just me, then
right.
it's a different workflow than when I'm in the studio with somebody else. There's a different person, there's a different dynamic and how you gotta move mechanically. But anyway, so I got this. um I've always loved the MXL as far as microphone goes. Tube, to be specific. I like the warm richness of the tube. um I've looked into the Rhodes. I've also looked into some of the other ones as well. I think that they're all good. I think they all serve their purposes. But I think that this one specifically, the Genesis Heritage Edition that I have now, and just what I have with I got a 12 channel mixer here. It's simple. It's a simple setup, but it still gives me that mix between digital and manual, of kind of like the way that I write. I will freestyle here, a few bars, and take a second and write it down. I think that that whole workflow, that whole ecosystem, like really translates in that like everything that I do. So
Mm.
I think aside from really having a room that's dedicated to the sound, which is like kind of is like my OCD thing. That's like in my head. I'm like, if I had like the perfect sound room, right? But you make it perfect for you.
Well, I'm gonna say coming from somebody that at one time all I had was one monitor. Like I didn't even have two monitors. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm gonna say that it's really all about translation. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can, and um, that's kind of part of the art of mixing is knowing how certain things translate. And like nowadays we had different types of plugins that can kind of emulate certain environments. You know what I mean? So then
Mm-hmm.
you can get a better feel for what your mix may sound like. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you for real, the um out of all of that, the what really made me dig in to my mix a little bit more, and I was already, on my study was when I started hearing my music come through PA speakers. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like big speakers. When you hear your
Yep.
music come through big speakers, like um, especially when you got these big subs, you know what I'm saying? Like you really hear like what's going on. And
Yeah.
uh so like it's good to have as many references as you can, but we also got to remember too, like what's the majority of people gonna be playing their music from? You know what I'm saying?
That part.
So you gotta always, you know, which I mean, let's face it, phones. So like, but phones connect to cars, they connect to, you know what I mean? But the phone is still the source, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then you gotta look at what variables, but in the end, it's really about knowing the translation. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
getting it to as many places as possible. And I'm gonna be honest, you really need to get it to somewhere that you don't have control of how stuff sound. Like, you can control stuff in your studio and stuff like that, but you take it somewhere and then let other people hear it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
you know, things like that. But you will definitely see what needs to be improved. You know what I mean? Especially like obvious things. Like me, it
Absolutely.
was first the bass, then it was the kick drum and the hi hats. You know what I'm saying? And then back to the bass. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't. You know what I mean? And once I got the balance on that, it was a wrap. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's what I would say. Like learn the translation of what you do to other places. Like um because you're not going my speakers might go out. One of my speakers actually went out, you know what I'm saying? So I got
Mm-hmm.
like one speaker. So I'm like, well, I know what certain things should sound like coming from this side because I listen so much because I always put my like right in the middle. So I'm still using that same thing, but now I'm just putting the headphones on a little more because I got some, you know what I mean, DT
Exactly.
990s. So, you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
like it's so that's where having as many references in mix as possible is just as important as having references post mix. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like a lot of producers, I know they, think about the sounds they want, samples, you know, all types of stuff like that. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, if you don't spend time learning about how your sound should sound and, getting the tools for that, because it's just like production tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
Production tools aren't the same thing as mixing tools, and mixing tools ain't the same thing as mastering tools.
Right.
So if you want to go, that's the progression. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So
respecting those roles. Yeah, respecting those roles, knowing those roles. And just like you said, speaking that language. And I'm glad that you brought up the points of references as well, and just having those, like the PA speakers, like you said, for example, because that's when I really started to learn more, or that was like another step for me with the KRKs. It was the Rockets. And, once I got the Rockets, then it was like, okay, cool. Cause then that started to be more of the reference. Cause I had messed with the Audio Technicas, there for a little bit until I got the Audizes. And at that point, it was like, okay, I'm cool with using the Audizes because I can hear everything with these things, with these headphones. And it's like, and it's complemented more of what I've wanted in the past too, of making things more full, because there was just that other aspect of it that I was like, man, there was like maybe that top end or maybe that low end that I was missing just a little bit, that it could have gone a couple hertz back there just to put a little bit more of an accent around it. I know it's not spatial. I know it's pseudo in that way, but again, just giving you that whole sound, all in all. But to have that quality right off the bat, or to have the good ear and the things that complement that too, because sound, there's sound, and then you've got the technical aspect of it too. So there's people that are pitch perfect, but then there's also other areas of improvement and vice versa. I'm not one that can listen to this and be like, oh yeah, that's G major right there. But I can go in here and and dabble with that and be like, oh, that's the sound. Okay, there it is. I'm like, oh, that's okay. Oh, so that's C major or that's G major. Okay, cool. Well, now we know. And then whatever. Um, but having that quality right off the bat, because then it's good. So that way, when it translates over to your phone, or when it translates even onto a TV, it's going to translate over just like that. Like, there's a baseline. Do you believe that there is at least that there's a baseline of how you can put it out, even if the TV's not the most quality?
Right. Uh, actually, like when it comes to like TV, I think there's actually a different types of different settings they use because like you gotta think, um, and then but then too, also people have sound systems. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then also too, you have the what is it? Dolby, the
Dolby,
spatial. So you got this spatial. So now let's talk about this for a second, right?
spatial.
Because this is to me, and it's funny because like I heard people talking about it like a couple years ago. I don't hear a lot of talk, but that spatial audio, that mixing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to people that actually um were like in the process, that were engineers that actually uh was going into the process of learning how to mix like spatial, you know what I'm saying? And they like it's not even, it's nothing like what you would normally uh approach a mix, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're talking about something that can move from the left back corner
To the front,
coming
or the
across diagonal to to the front back corner, whatever. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
it's
Like,
cool.
so it's moving. So it's like there's movement, but then there's also change of sound. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just like an airplane flying. You know what I mean?
It's cool.
And but you have to know how to control the sound. And it's like, yo, basically we talking about, it's almost like dynamic sound because like the sounds that we are dealing with, most of them are static. You have like risers and stuff like that, but I'm talking about like actual drums sound, like um I think of that movie Cars where like the they was on the track and then somebody wrecked, like a tire was flying over them. It's like whoo, and you can hear it flying over you and like trying to mix that, but then you gotta
Yeah,
have at minimum the right type of equipment, like stereo, two speakers, monitor. No, anybody set up right now is not set up
it's
to
a
mix
different
spatial. it's a totally different environment, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
have like, a system. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Mr.
it's
E, Mr. E, and I hope I don't give like too much of his sauce away. Mr. E is probably the only one that I know that I can say that I know that's got a setup like that. He's
yeah. So
yeah.
respect to
I
him.
hope
You know
he
what I
yeah,
mean?
respect to
But
him
at
for real.
minimum, I
Yeah.
think you got to have like a headphone. You know what I'm saying? But then, we know with headphones, there's that proximity problem. That's why you need monitors. You know what I mean? Like, uh, they're cool to mix. But the ear headphones cause fatigue quicker. You know what I'm saying? And then proximity. That's why I like them for bass. You know what I'm saying? I don't really try to listen to a whole lot of other stuff. You know what I mean? Mainly low end stuff. You know what I mean? Headphones,
Fair.
but you know what I mean? That's
Mm-hmm.
my philosophy. Nothing but it works for me. So
No,
um
absolutely. Ear fatigue is like it's big, and that's like I think that's why I had to transition over to something that was more closed, and I felt like these, made the most sense to where like it could really articulate a sound that I was really able to isolate it with my ears, like something that I hadn't heard before. So it was like, it's like when you take when you sniff coffee beans before before you sniff another candle. That was kind of like what it was for me to be like, okay, let me reset that all the way. um but I'm
mm,
with you on, yeah, yeah, and I think that a good set of headphones, a good set of speakers too, can like you can isolate those sounds, man. That's how I feel. Like you can isolate that, just like they make different microphones for this stuff too. It's like you're gonna get you're gonna get a certain type of microphone if you want to go for this style.
right.
Or
Exactly.
but see, that's the thing. That's our thing. It's less about style and it's more about industry standard. And I'm like, or
Well, let's you so let's say uh because I think when you add the word industry into it, then the standard kind of gets convoluted,
I
right? But
believe, yeah.
let's say standard, right? Because um, in order to get a song played on the radio, right, it's got to meet a standard sonically, and it's nothing. Yes, it's the industry, but this is what the industry will provide you is that same sound. But
Mm-hmm.
it's that sound, right? That's gonna get you play on the radio. But it's a standard. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
in order for you to be competitive, right? You know what I mean? In order for your song to be able to match the same energy that that song has, you have to have it has a sound like that, not sound um as in terms of like instrumentally, you know what I mean, like
Right.
melody or whatever,
Sounds like that person
but in terms
levels.
of the mix levels and
Right.
the richness of the sounds, you know what I mean? I'm gonna just
Mm-hmm.
say, you know what I mean? That
Yes.
you know where it's like you hear everything, but nothing's like overpowering unless certain based on the genre, certain instruments do kind of stick out, right? But
Right.
it don't sound where we know a good mix. Like it's not even something, it's like a mystery. So um I'm just saying that, you know, when you talk about that standard, then you have to know how that standard's met. You know what I mean? Which I want you bringing me to the next question because
Okay. Okay.
uh in meeting, standards, right? Um you obtain knowledge, which knowledge turns into a resource, which now there's certain resources that are out there, right? Certain tools that you can get, you know what I mean, from you
Mm-hmm.
doing your research and you pull them in. Now, you like me, you use Logic. I I think I might have 1,000 plugins. Stupid. I don't, you know what I mean? And there's probably people that's got more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but out of all of the, you know, plugins or MIDI controllers, anything that you've had to deal with, like uh what can you think of that like kind of was like the most difficult to use, but once you got it, it was like, yo, you know what I mean? Like I can't do without it.
Mm, I know it seems really remedial, but like really
Nope.
under the dynamic EQ, man, the dynamic EQ.
Mm.
Once I really honed in on what that dynamic EQ meant, and then shout out to Isotope because being able to go into the Ozone 12, they also have the stem EQ, which makes it even more dope because now you can break apart vocal and so on and so forth. So now I can really hit in those ranges. Now we isolate because there's certain parts within the vocals that you're hitting those warm spots and those boxy tones and those, you know what I mean. So like
Mhm.
now I'm really able to isolate those things a lot more. So really understanding the dynamic EQ and the ranges helped me just further understand where else I was at in certain parts, especially like if we were looking at um good God, what else is on there? They got
Are
good
you talking
God.
about isotope?
Yeah, like on Isotope
Like
and
neutron?
Ozone. Yeah, now I just started using Neutron. I did just
Yeah, neutron is
just
a monster. Okay,
dude,
let me calm down. Let me
bruh.
calm down. Yeah, like
A Neutron 5, bro, has shaped my vocals in such a way where I was like, bro, that's exactly what I wanted. But my issue was it, and I guess to answer your question, to circle it back around,
Mhm.
I had to stop depending on the master assistant, and I had to like use that knowledge because like this is the knowledge that I put into my stock plugins, right? So it's like when I got this plugin information, it was like, let me take this base knowledge and put it into this, right? It's like don't start acting brand new because you got some new equipment. Follow the steps. You know, you know what I mean? Like
Right, right, right.
this is why we even got here to begin with. So
Mhm.
it was like, let me get off the master assistant because, I was starting to hear some more clippings and I was like, I don't want to, come in here and have to do all this rah, rah, rah stuff. You know what I mean? So it was like, let me come in here and let me really just start
Right, right. I get it.
tailoring this.
Hey,
Yeah.
so what you talking about? And I don't want to get too far off, but because we getting like into a logic conversation, right? But this is what I kind
Mm-hmm.
of, this is where I kind of, because see, I remember Logic when it was a PC program. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
And in order for you to get all of the pieces of Logic, man, I can't. I know it was a dumb number, like 10 grand or something. You know what I mean? Like all of the different stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then Apple bought it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And because then it got on a dongle, and it was like a grand. You know what I'm saying? And it came with a dongle. I'll never forget, right? So I kind of seen the history of Logic, right?
Okay.
But it
Okay.
was kind of late when I realized something, man, because um I was running through the stock joints, you know what I'm saying? And then, early on, because I couldn't just buy stuff and I didn't really know what I was supposed to get or anything like that. So it's like, EQ, you know what I mean? Parametric EQ, this EQ, you know what I mean? And then just
Yeah. Parametric.
playing with stuff, you know what I mean? And then, doing research, but then I'm in and out of studios. So I'm seeing actual equipment and how that's being utilized, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, So, I'm still trying to figure out, but long story short, I remember when, now mind you, I told you Logic was basically a program that you had to kind of buy, you know, different pieces together. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just imagine like you had to buy the sampler, you had to buy the EQ, you had to buy, like all of the different you had to kind of put all that stuff together
It was like
to
a la
get what
carte.
now costs $200. But like the crazy thing was when they bought dang, it's that synth, man, on Logic. God. Uh
Is it the one that the OG of
start with
like
an
the
A.
80s? The Abigator, not the Abigator.
Uh man, that's so dumb. Like it's on the tip of my tongue, but they bought, and I remember that scent cost alchemy. You know what I
Alchemy.
mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember because I remember looking at alchemy before they bought it. You know what I mean? And I remember it cost like $200 or something like that, $100, something like that, right? Then next thing you know, they bought it. Now it's in Logic. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, damn, Logic's $200. Like, so what I realized is that basically they took, you know, over the years they just take different, you know what I mean? Because they got this AI. All they doing is just, you know, uh, getting companies and just adding stuff on. That's that's literally all they're doing. So,
Mm.
but what it also taught me is that I need to start researching other companies that do those things because, like, yeah, I think like, yeah, the EQ probably is, a good EQ, but is it gonna match the amount of resources and whatever they put into that Pro Q4? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Is it gonna be able to match the same level of energy, know what I'm saying, as
Yeah.
that? You
Right.
see what I'm saying?
How
And
many
I know for
layers?
me,
Yeah.
yeah, and I know for me, like, I'm like, yo, like that's a lifesaver. Like that Pro
Hmm.
Q4. That's probably one of the ones like if you was like three, like Pro Q4. That's probably gonna be one of them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Um, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? Uh, and the reason I asked producers about that, like, what's the most difficult, is because it's like you got to show the extremes. Like, there's gonna be certain things that are gonna be like really adapt to you, like easy to get. You know what I mean? And you're gonna love that. But then there's gonna be stuff that's not gonna be so easily attained. You're gonna have to dig. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
and but that's gonna make you appreciate when you get to something and you good at it. You know what I mean? Like, are you good with it? Like from the jump.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Steph FX EQ is a stock plugin and Logic. That one.
Yeah. And I applaud people who approach things that way. They use what they got. You know what I'm saying? They don't look outside of what they already have first, right? Like, and somebody with all of these plugins, right? You would think, oh, he ain't looking for nothing. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? But then you know, I have connections that, be like, hey, this thing right here, I'm
Hmm.
telling you, and then they'll, give me an example, and that's all I need. And it's like, yeah, you make the decision, right?
Right.
But I always gotta tell myself, yo, before you, because I might see something I like before you go grabbing that, go look at what you got first. See that it if you haven't dug into what you already got, you
Hmm.
shouldn't be going out. My opinion, all right, you shouldn't be going out trying to get something new if you ain't completely went through the things you already got. You know what I mean? Because it might be something in there. It might be better than what you looking at trying to buy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You don't know. You do
Yeah,
your
you
research. Yeah.
yeah, you got to do your read all the way around. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When I bought my MPC Live a few years ago, too, I read the manual 6 months before I bought it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Cause I was like, I gotta know what I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? I know MPC, but you know, it's live too. The last MP I had was a Renaissance, so I'm jumping up a little bit here. So I had to do the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Uh, yeah. So, bro, we have to talk about the side that we kind of met on, which is that uh crypto. And I'm gonna say crypto, but really, it's more about So Litty Records, the
Okay.
label, you know what I mean, that y'all been working. But, that to me ties in, you know what I mean? Now, currently, I don't know what the situation is. you can speak on it, or you can, I'm gonna get with my guy. He can, whatever the case is. But
Hmm.
either way, you can speak um on So Litty, man. Know what I'm saying?
Oh
What is
yeah.
what is what is So Litty Records?
So Liddy is a freight train. It is, and I think that we've been able to stand the hands of time, and I think that's one thing we've been able to show is resilience for sure, and through all of it, we weather these storms. Like you really, I was just talking with a few of the guys the other day that I'm not worried about anybody leaving or quitting or falling off the face of the earth. That we're locked in, we're solidified in who we are as a group. So the how we're looking at it and how we're approaching this is we're here we are. This is the plan A, there's no plan B. This is how we're working with it. And this is the strategy. So um it's been a really rewarding to see the team, just everybody grow individually, and it's been really rewarding to see everybody grow into their part and grow into the artists that they are. Just not only see that, but just see them in their entirety. That
Mm,
more than just the music, everything that goes into that, the
mm,
family personnel, the everyday life, and then what comes from that, and just even, I guess, looking at it from a duality standpoint of like Death Lord, for example. I always use Death Lord because Death Lord is incredible at painting pictures.
I'll be Pie and Devil here in a
Yeah.
couple days. So yeah,
Yeah, so I won't say too
respect.
much. I'll let him speak on himself, but Death Lord
Nah,
is
you
really
good. It don't matter. Like
he's great
he
as
can still
it
say it. Yeah.
he's awesome, man. He's awesome at painting those pictures. But when you chat with him, you're like, "Hey, what's up, dude? Like, how much, man? Just eating dinner. What's going on with you? Playing some video games?" He's like, "Man, about to play some video games and take a nap, bruh. Just chilling." But just the fact that all of our artists are able to invoke an emotion is what I think gravitates all of us together. And I think that you're able to look past the musical aspect of that and see everything in its own art, whether it be the classical music, the picking out a turntable, going to a gallery, taking a freaking nature walk, or being in the studio. All of those
Right.
things, the world is your studio.
Right. So 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 Litty Records, like uh what platforms, what I mean, are you guys utilizing to push, the artists, you know what I mean, that you have?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what types of platforms are you guys using?
So right now we're using, I'm gonna go back to the word standard, going back to the standard digital service platforms. So the Spotify's, your Apple Music's, they're on Pandora's, the Deezers, and they're anywhere music is, that's where you can find them, and that's I think that's the best position for it to be. But with that being said, we're also able to then put these together and extract these numbers, then build a marketing strategy with what we see with the numbers and see where we can focus in a little bit more on a microscope with an individual artist on where they're starting to build popularity in other areas too, you know. But we've also got to look at just beyond you got to look beyond the music too. You got to look at the merch. You got to look at shows. You got to look at those things. You got to look at the radio. You got to look at sync licensing. There's more value in the music than just the 0.000017% that Spotify gives us off of 1,000 streams. So, and I think with Solidity Records, us being able to capture all of the intellectual property of what a song has, to be able to say, okay, we've got you covered in this aspect of it, gives us those endless possibilities for us to come up with an equation, be like, okay, let's provide a solution for that. So I would say I pride us a lot now more than ever in being solution providers.
Hmm.
and then
Okay.
and then to kind of circle back around to with blockchain, to create open sources
Okay.
for people to
Now
have
hold up.
this.
I,
Okay,
I
okay,
gotta
okay,
stop you. I'm sorry. I gotta
okay,
stop you
okay,
because
okay.
you got you throw these words. Now this
But
word we gotta because we gotta stop because we I kind of know my audience to a degree.
okay, okay.
Because you threw the word blockchain, and
Ooh,
you
from the
know
block to the
you
blockchain.
you gotta we gotta that see. This is why I say you don't be the first crypto guy, but you kind of just you slipped it in at the end. You know what I'm saying?
Break the
I thought I
terminology
could get it
down.
out a little earlier from you, guy, but you just and then you slipped it. So let's break this down, all right? Because
Jedi.
I want people to understand what you're talking about, right? So,
Absolutely.
uh, blockchain is a cryptocurrency term, right? And what it stands for is, let's talk about one everyone knows about Bitcoin, right? Uh, Bitcoin, it circulates because it's a currency, right? And one of the ways that it moves is through what they call a blockchain, where you have two entities, as we're gonna say, that make an exchange. You know what I'm saying? Like I want this thing, uh, they want this much for it. You know what I mean? So it's a basic saying. It's no different than if you go to the store. But if we want to talk technical, like when you swipe your card, like it takes them 3 days to get their money. But on the blockchain, when that money is transferred, they instantly get their money, just like you will instantly get your product, right? But in traditional, if you swipe your card at the store, it's gonna take them 3 days because ACH takes 3 days to move money from, when people make those types of transactions. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So look at a blockchain almost as like a place where transactions are being performed. You know what I'm saying? And one of them transactions can be music. Okay, now you can continue, sir.
All right, perfect. I like that, by the way. So the open resources that we want to be able to create is just it's education, and that's where Shaggy and I are very much alike, and everybody too. But that's the big reason why Shaggy and I are co-partners in this whole thing, because he comes from that education base, and I come from that education base, and the different sectors of it are similar enough to where it's like, yeah, this can be expansive, and we're Shaggy's very technical in that space of this is the foundation, this is the structure, this is where we have to start. And I'm very much a dreamer. So when you put a dreamer and somebody in the technical space together, you have to understand that this is where oil and water meet. But at the same time, this is when something magical happens. Because now you really got to blend this. You do have to blend this, because now we're about to make a vinaigrette. And I know
I
I'm
like
getting all
vinaigrette.
vinaigrette is good. It just, and you can dress it up depending on the seasons, man. So the whole point of that being is like, we can adapt, and we've been able to mature with that. And I think the group sees that, and I see the group even with their music too, and just how we've been able to evolve from this isn't just a whole bunch of people sitting at a playground anymore talking about let's go play label, to hey, there's money on the table, there's there's livelihoods, and people are taking the strategies of their music seriously, and
Right,
we're able to have those conversations where it's like, okay, where do you want to be?
right.
Because nobody, and I don't know, this is a hot take, but where do you, and maybe this is just one of those things where it depends on where life takes you, but I know people are, the hot take is like people don't want to be 85 making music, you know what I mean? But I think that can vary. You don't necessarily have to be on stage making music, I mean, that could have turned into an orchestra by then.
Well, I'm, I'm a. We're gonna say this much. I'm gonna make music until I don't. If all my fingers fall off, I'll be nubbing the MP. If my hand fall off, I'm gonna be wrist pump. You know what I mean? I'm in. whatever. If I can make music, I don't care like that. So if you're asking me, I don't have
There's no
no
limit,
age.
right?
It's when I can't and when I'm not. So I make music now because there might be a point where I'm not gonna be able to. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't,
True.
you know. So that's how I approach it, right? Like I don't. So there's no the time limit is when I can't do it. You know what I mean? That's when it's so then that's when I'm gonna go back and just listen to everything. I guess I don't know, you know what I mean? But
Mm,
as long as I can be a creative, like I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, as long as my mind works, I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Uh man, hey, I told you like this was gonna be a crazy one. You threw words out. You know what I mean? You phased in, you got me, you even got in a question, you know what I'm saying? Like I like that. I wanna close with this. I'm gonna have, just like all the other producers, I'm probably gonna have to spin the block with you if you don't mind. You know what I'm
Go
saying?
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Because it
I'm ready.
always feel like it's like like we skim stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like
Sure.
that's how I start. But I always like to ask like what would you say to like your 12-year-old self like that just realized he wanted to make music, or what would you tell um any young person, or not even they don't have to be young, just anybody that's like new? Because like for example, what if somebody came to your crib right now and was like, yo, I just got this NPC sample. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the hot joint right now. You know what I mean? That's the what I forgot what they used to say, but yeah, that's the flamer right now, right? So
Hmm.
um they come up to you like, yo, man, what would you tell them like uh to help them like actually uh get on the road of like really becoming a producer? Cause that is a start. That could be a start. Like you can get a koala app for $9. That can
Yep.
be a start. But what would you say to them or yourself if you just bought that MPC sample at a young age? You know what I mean? With what you know now, what would you tell them?
Wow. Okay. Learn from the greats and seek
Mm,
and seek no approval.
mm. You've said
Yeah.
enough. Well, th- hey, burr, 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 burr. See, you get that one. You get that. That's what that answer gets, man. Know what I'm saying? Hey, look, I got to give you top rating on that answer, bro. You get the 5 star. You get the offbeat stamp. You know what I'm saying? You get a for that, Joan, because
Let's go.
you hit it, man. Like you ended it with fire, man. I love it. Hey, man, I have to come back and see you. You know what I'm saying? You are, and I
Much love.
told Death Lord coming up soon that both of y'all joints was gonna be crazy, and I like never fail, man. So my
This is
guy,
dope.
salute you. I appreciate you coming out, man.
Much
Um,
love.
you even made me hit the joint early, man. But I gotta do what my peoples tell me to do. You know what I mean? They tell me to, and I gotta end the show like this, man. Bah, 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 bah.
I'm gonna hit
Peace.
him with a shh.